Thomas Jefferson has been credited for being the author of the phrase, "Nature is my church." That may or may not be true. What is true is my feelings when I'm in and around nature. I am a photographer. I take pictures. In nature, I see, hear, and feel the Creator. Could it be that nature, science, and spirituality are all faces of the same thing? They are all faces of the Creator. After all, God did not create religion. Religion was created by man. Speaking of religion, allow me to introduce you to Reverend Denise Creech. Listen to her, ignore the pictures, and then think for yourself.
Today's talk is going to be a little on the scientific side, but I think I can explain it to you so you understand. We're going to talk about quantum physics today. Charles Fillmore, who was a co-founder of Unity in his wonderful book, Atom Smashing Power of Mind, said, "Through the development of the atom, a power will be released right into our midst that will, in its physical aspect, make the earth equal to our wildest dreams of heaven." And he also stated, "Science has broken into the atom and revealed it to be charged with tremendous energy that may be released and be made to give the inhabitants of the earth powers beyond expression when its law of expression is discovered." In the 17th century, there were two scientists and mathematicians, René Descartes and Isaac Newton. They led us to see the universe being controlled by predictable laws. They started a belief system that imposed a duality between the concepts of mind and matter. When Albert Einstein produced his famous equation, E equals mc squared, some 200 years later, he showed that matter and energy are completely interchangeable. His theory directly contradicted Newton and Descartes and ushered in a new understanding of how the universe functions. A new field of science was born, quantum physics. Now, what I'm sharing with you today is partly from this book that we have in the bookstore, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. It's by Dr. Joe Dispenza. And we also have Unity Magazine. He's got an article in here. We have a couple of these left if you like to purchase that too. They're $1. The magazines are $1. And what I read in this book, actually Marge Dale told me about this book when she was Reverend Marge Dale when she was here in March, and she was telling Reverend Jenny and I about this book, and it just sounded so interesting. So I picked it up a couple of months ago and I started reading it, and I wanted to share it with you. Now, even though I am not a scientist, and I do watch a lot of The Big Bang Theory, it's my favorite show, I do not consider myself a quantum physicist, but I believe I can share enough with you guys so you can understand. The classical atom, which is something that we all learned when we were growing up, it was all fixed. So you had the nucleus, and then you had the electrons, protons spinning all around. There was no change. It was fixed. And if you take a look at the NASA logo, that's exactly what we remember when we were growing up. We were taught that the atom was made up of a nucleus and other objects, and they seemed to be solid. But in quantum physics, it has been revealed that atoms are mostly empty space. They are energy. The atom is actually 0.00001% solid and 99.99999% energy. So it's mostly energy. Mostly energy. And when scientists interacted with the nucleus of the atom and moved towards its center, they gained and lost energy. They appeared and disappeared, and it seemed to show up all over the place without regard to boundaries of time and space. The subatomic world is very unique. It possesses not just physical qualities, but also energetic qualities. Matter in a subatomic level exists as a momentary phenomenon. Momentary. It is so elusive that it constantly appears and disappears, appearing into 3 dimensions, appearing into nothing. In the quantum field, there is no space and no time, transforming from particle, which is matter, into energy, which is wave, or vice versa. What quantum physicists discovered was that the person observing or measuring the tiny particles that make up the atoms affect the behavior of energy and matter. We affect it when we put our focus on the atom. Quantum experiments demonstrated that electrons exist simultaneously in an infinite array of possibilities or probabilities in an invisible field of energy. But only when an observer focuses attention on any location of any one electron does the electron appear. In other words, a particle cannot manifest reality until we observe it. And this is called the observer effect. We now know that the moment the observer looks at an electron, there is a specific point in time and space when all probabilities of the electron collapse into physical form. With this discovery, mind and matter can no longer be considered separate, which was the thought of Newton and Descartes. They are intrinsically related because subject mind produces measurable changes on the objectional physical world. Now, that's all a lot of gobbledygook maybe to some folks. But the point he was trying to make, that atoms are mostly energy, and when we focus on that atom, when we put our attention to that atom, it becomes solid. It appears and becomes solid. And because it is mostly energy, there are all kinds of possibilities out there, all kinds of probabilities. So we need to put our mind to make it come divisible. Energy responds to your mindful attention and becomes matter. So ponder this. Everything in the physical universe is made up of subatomic particles. These particles, when they exist, are pure potential. They are in a wave state when they're not being observed. They are potentially everything and no thing until they are observed. They exist everywhere and nowhere until they are observed. Everything in our physical reality exists as pure potential. And we are connected because we are a part of the same. We are connected. We are connected to this pure potential. Quantum scientists have also discovered that our thinking and our feeling natures affect all aspects of life beyond time and space. The problem that I've had with this is that I have to get out of linear time and space. I have to remove that boundary in order to get this. It took me a while. Although I could never teach this stuff. It is our state of being when our mind and our bodies are one as the observer, which affects the external world. HeartMath Research Center in California, which is a wonderful place. I know a couple of people who have gone through there and learned a lot of wonderful techniques, and I'll read this purpose statement to you right now about HeartMath. It provides the tools that connect us with the heart of who we truly are for living healthier, fulfilling lives, and building a brighter future. Since 1991, the HeartMath Institute has researched and developed reliable, scientifically based tools to help people bridge the connection between their hearts and minds and deeper their connection with the hearts of others. And at this research center, there was a cellular biologist named Glenn Wren, PhD, conducted an experiment to prove that healers, after using learning these heart math techniques, were able to affect biological systems. What he wanted to do was unwind and wind DNA. So he put DNA in test tubes, and he had 3 groups of 10. All these 3 groups had gone through heart math and learned their techniques. Now, the first group, they took time, 2 minutes, to do the techniques that heart math teaches, and they held the test tube, and all they did, they expressed love. They just expressed love into the test tube as they held it. There was no change. And then the second group of 10, they went through the heart math techniques, they held the test tube, and all they did was think, wind and unwind DNA. They just thought. There was no change. And then we have the third group of 10. They did the heart math techniques, and they combined the thought and the feeling, the thought of moving, unwinding and winding the DNA, and they expressed love and appreciation and gratitude into the test tube, and it worked. They were able to register the DNA unwinding and winding by combining thought and feeling, bringing it together. Our minds and our hearts need to work together. And we know, those of us who have gone through the prayer chaplain program, one of the things they tell us to do is to take your mind down 18 inches to your heart. So we're still using both. When we combine an elevated feeling of an open heart and a conscious intention with clear thought, we signal the quantum level to respond in amazing ways. The quantum field does not respond to what we want. It responds to who we are being. So those people who did those tests, the ones that were using thought and feeling, that's who they were at that moment. How we think and how we feel produces a state of being, which generates an electromagnetic signature that influences every atom in our world. So this should prompt us to ask all the time, what am I broadcasting, consciously or unconsciously, on a daily basis? What electromagnetic signal are we sending out every day, all the time? Now, I combine this talk with Unity and their affirmations because we believe in affirmations at Unity. We believe that what we say, what we affirm, is going to happen. But what we also need to remember is that we have to put feeling into what we are saying. We have to truly, with every part of our being, believe and know that what we are affirming is happening. If you don't combine them, your affirmations may work very briefly, but it won't stay long. We don't want to just say these affirmations just rote. You know, sometimes we do prayers and we just say it. We really don't feel what we're saying. We don't feel it with every part of our being. We need to do that with our affirmations. You can say affirmations from sunrise to sunset 1,000 times a day, but if you don't feel it, it's not going to work. Another thing that he was trying to tell us in this book too was that we need to change our whole state of being. We need to be a new person. I watched a TED Talk video, and he was talking about this. It was rather humorous, quite frankly. He says, you know, you can be saying believing or do your treasure maps, and of course in Unity we would do our affirmations, but yet you get up in the morning, you get up on the same side of the bed, you brush your teeth the same way, you eat the same cereal, you drive to work the same way, you sit at the same desk, you talk to the same people, you aggravate the same people or they aggravate you, you have the same responses, then you finish whatever it was that you're doing, you get in the car, you drive home the same way, you get out of the car, you eat the same thing for dinner, you say the same things, you read the same articles in the paper. You're not changing. You're not changing who you are. You need to be someone new when you're doing these affirmations. You need to create a new being, a new self. And doing the same routines every single day, you're not creating anything new. You're not creating a new you, a new self, a new being. So how do you expect your life to change around you? What is that definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting something different to happen? It's not going to change. You have to break the habit of being yourself, and you need to reinvent a new self. Quantum creating only works when your thoughts and your feelings are aligned. They have to be one. Thoughts are the language of the brain, and feelings are the language of the body. If your intentions and your desires haven't produced consistent results, you've probably been sending an incoherent, mixed message into the field. Mixed message. Our affirmation may say, I am prosperous, I am whole, I am healthy. And then you go out and you talk, wow, I'm feeling really bad today. I don't feel well. I'm sick. I don't want to get out of bed. Or I don't want to pay that because I don't think I'll have enough money. I don't have enough money. So you're sending incoherent messages to the field, to the quantum field. They have to be in alignment. You need to change. You need to change your behavior. You need to react differently than you have had done before. If someone makes you angry, and of course we in our habits, we respond exactly the same way as we always have been. They push that button and we're going to come back exactly the same way we always have. We need to change that. We need to be mindful. Consciously change our behavior so that whole field of us, that whole being of us changes to what we are affirming. To what we are affirming. When your mind and your body are working together, when our thoughts and our feelings are aligned, when we are a new state of being, then we are sending a coherent signal on the airwaves of the visible. So let's just imagine that we are doing our affirmations and we got our feelings right in line and we're living, we've changed our being. We're doing things differently. It doesn't have to be drastic. Doesn't have to be drastic. You could take a detour and go another way to work, if you want. Just little things. I do that. Sometimes I do it because of traffic issues. But I do have options, and I'll take those options. When we send that out into the invisible, what we are affirming becomes visible because everything is a match. Everything is a match. And then there's another thing that we need to bring into this mix, and that's gratitude. We need to be grateful for receiving the outcome. We don't know what that outcome is. We know what we are affirming, but we do not know how it's going to come to us. When we are in a state of gratitude, we transmit a signal into the field that an event has already occurred. Gratitude is more than an intellectual thought process. We have to feel as though whatever we want is in our realities at that moment, at that very moment. We need to know that future experience, that future happening has already occurred, and we are grateful for that. This book that I read convinced me that we are truly divine creators. We got the power, guys. We've got it. Our equation is thought plus feeling plus acting and gratitude equals creation. All of it has to come together. Creating is a reality in our lives. If we really knew, think about this, if we really knew and really understood deep in our hearts that this principle was true, would you ever miss a day in intentionally creating the world that you desire? Would you? Wouldn't we want to focus our attention on what we want instead of continually complaining about our problems? When our behaviors match our intentions, when our actions are equal to our thoughts, when our minds and our bodies are working together, when our words and our deeds are aligned, there is an immense power behind each and every one of us. Science has proven what Charles Fillmore said. Through the development of the atom, a power was released right into our midst that will, in its physical aspect, make the earth equal to our wildest dreams of heaven. And using this equation, thought plus feeling plus acting plus gratitude, we can harness that power and create a better life for us, each of us individually and collectively. So think about that prayer that we're doing for our church, that 30-day prayer that we're doing. And when we say it every day, not only think, hear the words that you're saying, feel the words that you're saying, visualize the words that you're saying, and act as though everything that we have said in that prayer has happened. Act. Live your life differently. Come in here differently. And then be grateful. Be grateful for all that we know has occurred. We just haven't seen it yet. It's just not visible yet. But it's there, and we know it's there. We can do this. Collectively, as a whole church, as a community, and individually, we have that power. And science has proven that we have that power. And isn't that something to be grateful for? So let us just take one moment, brief moment. Calmly go, close your eyes and take a nice deep breath. And just think about being a divine creator. A divine creator. And what do you want to create today? How can you change your life, change your habits, to put you in that new space, that new being? Little things. Little things. Visualize your creation. Feel it. And be grateful for it. We thank you, God, for all the possibilities. All the possibilities in our lives. And we know that you have given us the power to create our highest and best. We know that we are divine creators. And we thank you for that, God. We thank you for that gift. And for that, we are grateful. And we say thank you, God. And so it is. Amen.